Another ongoing purpose of Stoa is to share the benefits in speech and debate with the community. So how have you seen that play out in some way?
Community judges.
Yes.
So when we hold tournaments in Stoa, the biggest piece of labor and volunteer labor is our judges. Every single speech, every single debate round has to be judged by an adult. And the judge community in a tournament is typically parents, but we strive to have a high percentage of community judges. And community judges just simply means someone not directly in the Stoa community, just friends we invited, and hey, will you come listen to our kids give a speech on such and such? And typically those people go away going, wow, this is quite an organization, because the kids, they stand in their suits, they speak articulately, they speak intelligently, hopefully. So yeah, community judges are, I think, the primary way that we showcase what the value of forensics and homeschool Christian speech and debate delivers.
We have 6 children, and through the years, they all have participated in the world of homeschool speech and debate. Some took to it, did great, they loved it. Others, they were doing it more for the social value. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but they loved the tournaments, they loved being around other students, but it really wasn't their thing. And they might break, they might qualify for night talk. That was a plus, because as your family's going, you're not just having one competitor in the group. We had a few years where we had 3 people, 3 students in different ages doing it. As far as the benefit of that, the funny thing, Angela, is the one that was probably the least interested in it or the least proficient in it is now a teacher at a private Christian school, and has run little speech tournaments and has taught different things about debate. And we just think that's just so funny, because he probably was the one we would not have guessed would have taken this on. But he's a teacher. He's speaking every day at his job. And it was something that it didn't initially come naturally to him, but he was comfortable doing it. And again, the benefits go beyond just the skills of the speech and debate. They are that interaction, the ability to think on your feet. Oh my goodness, when you're working, and maybe I'm doing interviews with folks, either coming into the place where I work or looking for advancement, and I'm sure that 85% of our Stoa kids would do better in a lot of these interviews than folks that are out there, just because they're comfortable, and they're comfortable talking, thinking on their feet. They're prepared.
Well, there's the obvious benefits of your children become educated, they become discerning. I talk with a lot of parents, and they say, well, why would I want to teach my children how to argue better? They already argue too well. And that misses the point. You don't want them to argue blindly, emotionally, without thinking. You want them to be able to sit down, and if they disagree with you, or if they see a flaw in your reasoning, what you're saying at the dinner table, they can take you to task and point out where truth lies. And I have noticed in all of my children going through speech and debate, they have an exquisite ability to do that, better than me, actually, who didn't go through all this training. And it's very impressive to watch a young adult who is 16 or 17 or 18 take your spin on world events and say, well, had you considered this? And you go, oh my goodness, that's really what I should have been saying instead of what I just said. Then there's all those corollary benefits that come. And a lot of the corollary benefits, to be perfectly honest, benefit the parents more than the kids. And I know this is supposed to be for the benefit of the children, and it is primarily. But as you travel together as a family, you develop family bonds. Dads find themselves more able to participate in the lives of their children and their growing up in this activity, because a lot of times club meetings are scheduled at night when dads are free. Tournaments are on weekends when dads tend to be free. A lot of the time with my older children going to speech and debate tournaments, I was the one doing the driving, the chauffeuring, the judging, the talking with the kids, getting them settled in the hotels, all that kind of thing. While my wife was home with the younger children who couldn't travel yet. And it enabled me to participate in the life of the family. It brought the family closer together. The kids now have a bond.
I would say that it encouraged them to make their faith their own, to think through deep issues. They learned how to recognize an argument, a fallacy, just misinformation. They learned how to consider whether a source is credible. They learned how to engage with the people around them. One example, my daughter, her husband's, one of his best friends is an atheist, a brilliant guy, fun, lovely man, but he's an atheist. And he hasn't had a lot of positive experiences trying to engage with Christians. It's been more adversarial and less conversational. And one of the first conversations, really deep conversations they got into about faith, that went to like 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. At the end of the conversation, he took a big breath and he said, you know, we don't agree on just about anything, but I really enjoyed that conversation. And that relationship will continue to grow over years. That's, if we want to move hearts and minds, that's where we have to start, is by understanding how to engage in civil discourse, which is something that I think is becoming a lost art.
My children are grown up now, and we often tease. My son has used the skills many times. He had a competition at work to pitch an idea, and his idea won, and he was competing with several hundred people. And he said, Dad, honestly, my idea was one of the simplest ideas. I just outpresented everybody else. He was just a more effective communicator. My daughter, and we often tease, and hopefully this doesn't come out wrong for any other families that have raised lawyers, being a physician and my wife a nurse, we wonder if it was some parenting defect on our part that we somehow produced a lawyer in our family. So my daughter being a lawyer, just watching her as she competed in law school in moot court, and just exceedingly well. It was such a joy just using the tools. And I would hear her we get to go see some of the competitions and hear her making some of the arguments that she learned back when she was 14, 15, 16 years old. It was very fun to see just her using that effectively. And now as she's in her career, being able to use the tools that she was equipped with back in junior high school and high school, I think is a remarkable thing. And so it's what we want, it's the goal, it's what we believed would happen. But you never know. We heard from other parents, oh, this is what will happen. But getting to see it in our own children, very meaningful. And then for Susan and I, just the relationships with so many wonderful people have just been incredible blessing in our lives.
Well, a fun little anecdote for this one is I actually, even though I'm the oldest kid in my family, I'm the second one to start doing speech and debate. So my brother Aaron started slightly before I did, and he had a much more like natural knack for actually getting into the speech and debate vibe. And so for me, it was like pulling teeth. Like my dad was like, "You got to do at least one tournament." But once I did it, it was great, and I got hooked. And that was for me really helped push me out of my comfort zone in high school. And I credit a lot of that experience and that exposure to helping prepare me for work, prepare me for college at a big public university here in California, and then also for future graduate studies and so on. I think for me, the interests that I had dating all the way back to Lincoln Douglas and extemporaneous was surrounding the area of like current events and ethics and all this sort of stuff. And so how that plays into where I am now, I'm a PhD student at Stanford, studying bioengineering, and with a interest in going towards working in the intersection of science and policy and ethics and culture. And to me, every time I think about going into that sort of space, I think about what I learned in speech and debate and like how that has shaped and informed that entire path to where God is calling me. And so I think that at least personally, speech and debate has made a huge impact on my life.
I think through the speech and debate experience with our children and with children that when we were involved as coaches, was really trying to develop the it was developing, I believe, the understanding maybe of the importance of communication. And you know, I can remember when I was in high school, one of my favorite classes was speech class. And it's not necessarily the speeches I gave, but it was the learning and the understanding of the importance of the spoken word. And even today, I would tell you that a spoken word in our culture can be communicated with the feeling behind it, where many times the written word, and we see it all the time in business, it can be a text, it can be an email, it can be something that can be misinterpreted so easily. So, you know, the spoken word, I think, is still going to be paramount going forward in business, in culture, in society. And we need to prepare not only our families, but those Christian homeschoolers to be able to communicate in a spoken word.
Yes, yes. The impact that it can make. I mean, you've seen it time and time again, as you've already expressed.